Hi everyone, welcome back, and thank you so much for coming in as always. So today, markets were up in the green, Bitcoin was in the green, but yet miners were in the red. So what gives? We'll take a look at what happened today with miners and Bitcoin, Ethereum, obviously the markets as well, and some other companies that we track. We'll talk about also some news that we do have here from Iren, some news about Mawson as well, some news about Bitcoin power law, some other good stuff as well. We'll get through it all, and then we'll get into Q&A at the end of it all. So again, thank you so much for coming in here. And let's go through this, but we got to do this at the beginning as always. So not financial advice for anyone only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button if you would be so kind. And subscribe if you haven't already to talk about everything that's Bitcoin AI related for the most part. But let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin today. Bitcoin was in the green today, a little bit at least. So on Thursday today, it was up just a little bit, 0.11%. It was still in the green. We're still battling with that 50 SMA here, which is this line right there. We're battling with it. Hopefully we can get above it here, and maybe, I don't know if we're going to get above it tomorrow on Friday, but we'll definitely try because it is up a little bit here as well. For Friday, it's up 0.36%. Markets were in the green today as well, right? Dow Jones was up 0.63. NASDAQ was up also 0.91. S&P was up 0.55 there. Russell was up 0.75% there. And Ethereum here was actually down today. Ethereum was down 1.01%. It's up a little bit here right now. It's kind of flatlined here, at least the last couple of days. We'll see if it can squeak out any kind of move upwards going forward. Miners, I mean, they were down, surprisingly. They were down much worse during the morning hours, and then they kind of actually picked back up a little bit here. So at least some of them did. Bitfarms was down 1.12%. BitTier was up, down 1.06%. Kango was down 1.42%. Cypher was down 1.86%, and yet the only one that was able to squeak out a green day was Cleanspark today. It was up 2.97%, even with, I didn't see any news come out for that one. I mean, nothing new here for them. So that's kind of surprising that they were up with everybody else being down here. But it was nice to see. CORZ was down a little bit, 0.66%. Hive was down 4.95% there today. Definitely taking a little bit of a beating here. Hut 8, same thing, down 6.48%. Iren was down 2.28. Mara here was down 2.56. Riot was down 0.99. Bounced off the 100 SMA here, so that might be a good sign there. And then Wolf was down 1.75%, also kind of went below the 100 SMA, bounced back above it to close above that, so that's looking a little bit better there. Bitcoin treasury companies here were down for the most part. That's kind of mixed if you look at it that way. MicroStrategy was down 1.73. Galaxy was down quite a bit, 5.14% today. I'm not sure what's going on with that one. It's going up all over the place here. Block was up a little bit, 1.64%. Coin was down 1.67%. Metaplan was down 0.2%, so that's down a little bit. Exodus was actually up 0.13% there. And Nexon was up 2.76%. This thing just continues to go up here regardless of what the heck is happening. I got to do a little bit more research into these guys, see what's going on with them. Phoenix was down 0.93%. Game was up 6.69%. I think that's a result of the CEO. They're buying some more shares from what I heard here recently, but they're close to, I think, $20-some million worth. So he's got some conviction there of something may be happening good for them. Small miners. Annie was up 1.94%. Argo was down 0.12%. DigiPower was down 3.59%. DMG was down 0.14%. Mawson was up actually today 1.13%. We got to talk about Mawson. There's obviously some interesting things happening with that one there. We'll talk about it in a bit. Canon was down 2.1%. The Bitcoin miner ETFs were all down about 2% on average. Overall, the Ethereum holding companies were all down except for Game. Game was up 5.27% there. It was up even higher at one point. Looks like it was up like 10-15%, but then it came back down towards the end of the day. And then other companies that we track here, American Bitcoin was down 0.64%. Wi-Fi was down 3.1%. Open was down 0.93%. Oracle was up 2.47%. Nibius was down 2.04%. Soluna was down 8.62%. Bax was down 4.84%. Fermi was up 1.77%. Meta was up next today, 5.66%. What happened with that one? Oh, earnings. It looks like earnings came out. Possibly. Oh, no, not earnings. It was Jefferies has a buy rating for Meta platforms with a target price of $910, indicating over 40% upside from his. Oh, wow. Okay, so that's definitely probably helped out there. We got earnings coming up here shortly. Google was up 0.75%. Amazon was up 1.31%. Microsoft was up 1.58%. NVIDIA was up 0.83%. And EOS was up 3.94%. It's got a nice little run here. And new AI, which we've covered earlier this week, was up again 17.66%. At one point, it was up like 34% and pulled back down. So it got to a high of $9.45 there. We got people on both sides on this one. We got people that are long it. We got people that are short it. Depending where you put your ear to is depending on what you hear. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. I don't have any position in this one. I'm just trying to see how this one plays out. You guys know my thoughts on it. I have some concerns about this one. We'll see if those concerns are validated or, am I wrong on it? We'll find out in a while. All right. Miners here in the after hours right now, see how they're doing here. BitDeer right now is up a little bit, 0.64% there. Bitfarms is up 0.38%, 0.75%. Kango here right now is flat. Yesterday when we looked at these guys were actually in the green last night, and then they ended up all being in the red here. So hopefully that's not a sign of things to come here for these guys. Cypher's up 0.81% here. Cleanspark in the after hours is up a little bit, 0.45%. CORZ Scientific here is up 0.55. Hive Digital is up 2.61%. Hut 8, look at that one, is up 1.02%. Iren is currently after hours 1.51%. Mara, and then we got Mara's up 0.39%. Riot Platforms, as this refreshes, is up 0.7%. And finally, TerraWolf is up 0.54%. So again, like same thing we saw yesterday. Miners were in the green pre-hours or after hours, overnight trading. And then they ended up actually being in the red here on today. So hopefully that's not a trend going forward. As far as Bitcoin here for the month of January, it is up 2.49%, which is looking pretty good. Overall, we're still in the green. We got a couple more days to go. We'll see if we can actually finish out in the green here on that one. The Bitcoin ETF inflows, outflows here. We had massive outflows yesterday. 708.7 million of outflows. BlackRock, IBIT there sold out 356.6 million. Today we got only outflows of 9.8 million without IBIT reporting. We'll see where that one comes in here. And onto the news that we do have now. So the news that we do have here is, if you guys haven't watched some of the talks at the World Economic Forum, definitely do so, especially on stuff that's related to AI and other things like that as well from these companies. There's a bunch of great conversations from, DeepMind CEO there, along with Anthropic CEO, the ones that I watched. This one also I watched with Elon Musk there and Larry Fink of BlackRock. But Musk is saying, right, the big thing is AI chips increase exponentially, but the limiting factor for AI is electricity power, which is true. Right, that's why they're talking about possibly going into outer space to have more power that's available here on our little blue marbles floating in space. But that's going to take time. It's going to be at least probably 3 to 5 years out before that happens, when we start seeing, AI data centers in space. But it is the big limiting factor right now is electrical power. And the good news is a lot of the companies that we are invested in, whether it's Iren, Cypher, Hut 8, TerraWolf, CORZ Scientific, Nibius, whoever it might be, right? Cleanspark, Bitfarms, all the rest on top of that as well. Whoever you're invested in, they have access to power right now, which is really, really, really good for them, I think. And I think we're going to see more deals happening here this year, probably even more than we saw last year from these guys. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to here. All right, so that's good news there. And then I thought this was very interesting here. So President Trump sues JP Morgan Chase and CEO Jamie Dimon for $5 billion because, well, they debanked him and his family there. So they're saying, boom, major FAFO, right? You know what that means, is underway. The era of debanking mega is officially over. It's not only mega. I mean, we had issues with other sectors being debanked, whether it was the marijuana sector, whether it was gun retailers and things like that. Anything, well, it could be partially mega, but nobody should ever be debanked because of your political views, because of what your business is doing. If the business is legal, there's no reason that you should be debanked. So I'm all for this, right? We need to have maybe clearer laws on the books as far as who can be debanked and why, because it just made it too doggone easy for some of these companies to debank people for one reason or another, and this has to change, right? It's your money. you're able to do what you want with it within legal bounds. All right, I'll leave it at that. Next here we have from Sminston with, I guess, checking on Bitcoin's power law in gold. This is seriously a historic black swan for black Bitcoin gold ratio. Whether we are experiencing a precious metal bubble soon to pop or a true transition of the monetary order a la Ray Dalio, right, which is what he's talking about. Next moves imply huge BTC gains. The current quantile is approximately 10 to the 10th power, illustrated by how far we've dropped below the 1% line. This is how rare and unlikely BTC's price in gold is to fall this low, a true outlier. Either the implied price shoots up to its 50th and 95th level, 200,000, 300,000 range due to gold's current value, or the ratio lifts off again as gold cools. Similar effect due to rotation into Bitcoin from gold. It's called holding the world's hardest asset, people. And you can see here in the chart here that we are definitely below that right now as it is, comparing it to BTC gold ratio actual, right, and where things stand here. So we've seen obviously gold do very, very well here in the last, I would say, year and a half, maybe even 2 years, compared to what Bitcoin has done. And eventually I think we will get a rotation, right, from gold to Bitcoin, other coins as well, possibly. But that might take a little bit more longer time than we are all expecting. So just be prepared for that. We will get eventually, I believe, a nice re-rating on Bitcoin going forward there. So that's looking good for us here right now, where Bitcoin's at. And also, this is from Bitcoin Teddy there. 15 years of historic data, I guess, tell us Bitcoin is about to go parabolic. So, and here he's looking at the business cycles. We've talked about this in the past as well, right? The business cycles have been pretty low here. This is back in 2020. Now we're in 2026 here as well. And every time we've bottomed out here, Bitcoin has gone on a run here, right? Bottom, Bitcoin goes on a run. Bottoming out here a little bit, Bitcoin goes on a run here. So if this is the case, and we have been bottoming out on the business cycle side of things, and we start going up on the business cycle side of things, which I think we will because of interest rate cuts, just the way the economy is running right now, right? I think we came in at 4 point something for GDP in third quarter, which is really good. That's also going to spur, obviously, economic development, and business cycles are going to go to the, well, I wouldn't say to the moon, but they're going to go up, which then will also help out Bitcoin here. So that's good news there. Next here, we got, this is on Michael Saylor here. Michael Saylor is thinking about buying Bitcoin on spot markets instead of OTC, right? So obviously he's not happy with the price movement of Bitcoin as well. He's buying it in OTCs, which obviously don't move the price of Bitcoin. But at a certain point, it's like you're buying all this Bitcoin at pretty good prices, yet this price of Bitcoin is not doing anything. It's languishing right around like the 85, 90,000, 85,000 mark, and it's just stuck there. So if he starts buying how much he bought last week, and not on OTC, but an actual spot market, that's going to drive the price of Bitcoin up higher. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out as well. If he does start buying in the regular market, not the spot, not the OTC market, we could definitely see Bitcoin rally quite nicely here there. So that's kind of interesting to take a look at. So that's a positive, right? So good news there as well. As far as the miners are concerned here, and Bitcoin AI miners, Iren is going to be releasing their quarterly Q2 results for fiscal year 2026 results on February 5th at, I think they're doing it at 5 p.m. Eastern time here. Today it has announced it will release the financial results for the 3 months ended December 31st on Thursday, Friday 5th, and we'll host a conference call beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern. So I'm guessing we're going to get the results at the end of the trading day there. And you can obviously view the live webcast, or you can dial in there. So that's great. We're getting close to that. We're only about, what are we about? 2.5 weeks away, something like that, from seeing that. So that's going to be great to see. Definitely looking forward to this one. I want to see how they're doing with their own GPU deployments, as well as what's their status on Microsoft build out. There's a lot of things that they're doing, so I want to definitely tune into that one and see what's going on there. Other ones that should be reporting relatively quickly, I think, are going to be Hive. Hive ended their fiscal calendar year earlier, so they should be able to put out their information faster. Same thing with Cleanspark, I believe, is another one there. Their calendar year doesn't end at the end of the year. The companies that do end on the regular Q4, they're going to take a little bit more time for them to prepare the quarterly results because they have to be audited as well. So that always takes time. So those might be coming out towards the end of February and possibly even into early March as well. All right, So that's awesome there to take a look at that one when that comes out. We'll definitely cover it. And then this I thought was interesting. I had somebody reach out to me and actually point this out to me. So this is pretty interesting. We talked about Mawson quite a bit going back in 2022, 2021, 2020 even. They were one of the companies similar to like Argo. If you guys recall, Argo was growing quite nicely. They were building out site, Helios site in, I think it was Texas, that a couple, was it been 2 years ago now, that Galaxy Digital actually bought that out from them because they had debt, but that's neither here nor there. But Mawson was also one of those that was growing tremendously in their megawatts potential, but they got hurt like other miners have gotten hurt in the bear market of 2022. During that time frame, they obviously ran into some difficulty with payments, debt, everything else. They ended up selling sites. One of the sites they sold was sold to Cleanspark, which we'll talk about here shortly. But ever since 2022, they have been on a downward spiral. So if we look at Mawson here as far as their performance here, they did recently a 1-to-20 reverse stock split. So they were in trouble there on the listing side of things. They had to do a reverse split. And if we look at, let's see, your small miners, Mawson, we've been talking about Mawson for a long time here. So this data is based on the reverse stock split here. But if we go back far enough, maybe if we go to the weekly here on it, I think. Let me refresh this. Yes, I want to leave the page. I want the graph to look a little bit better than what it does now. Daily, doggone it. Where'd it go? Mawson, there it is. Okay. So this is on the daily. This is on the weekly here. Okay. Maybe we're not going to get any better than that. But going back to 2022, this is 2025, 2024. There we go. Okay. It was priced much, much better at that point, right? Divide that by 20 basically is where you're getting the stock price at that point. So it was up actually much higher in price. Let's see if they did. Oh, they did another reverse stock split here as well. So that was 1-for-6. So now we have to do that. What would the multiple be? They did it once at one point. I can't figure that out in my head right now, right away. But you can see where the stock was being priced at that point. Back in 2022, they were valued like 500 million of market cap. Right now, today, they're actually at 5 million market cap, which is just crazy because they're, the sites that they own are probably a lot more than that. They're like probably around 50 million or something like that. So the stock has definitely been beaten down. They've had issues. And there's somebody that is actually trying to do maybe some good by the shareholders there. They're trying to make some changes. They've obviously had issues with management and the board. We'll go into it here a little bit, but you can see where the stock was at one point, divided by 20 and divided by 1/6 at that point, and you'll see where they are. So the stock is a very, very small sliver of where it was before. Like I said, they got into trouble financially in 2022 and started off selling their sites. But here's what somebody's trying to do here that is kind of heavily invested. So Endeavor Investor Group is a significant shareholder in Mawson Infrastructure Group. And today they issued a letter to shareholders. So let's take a look at the letter there. They kind of spell it out here as well, but we'll look at the letter actually because I can actually highlight it and make it easier for us to pay attention here. All right, so dear fellow shareholders, the Endeavor Investor Group, together with its affiliates Endeavor, or we, is a significant stockholder of Mawson Infrastructure Group, Inc. I think they're like at around 40-45% ownership there. We invested in Mawson because we believe the company controls a strategically important footprint in high-performance compute and digital estimate infrastructure that is not reflected in today's share price. I would agree as well with that, but the company has fumbled multiple times. That's the reason why. Mawson is a strategic and valuable company. It has capabilities, relationship, and assets that are difficult and expensive to replicate. Despite this, company has suffered from repeated strategic missteps, poor capital allocation decisions, and ineffective oversight during periods of financial distress. Yeah, I mean, you can check all those off. That is correct. I think I told you guys last year that I would be surprised if they're still in business by, like middle of next year. And like I said, they're valued at 5 million right now as it is per market cap. I'm surprised that they are still in business. I'm surprised that somebody hasn't swooped in there and actually bought them out because, to be honest, if I sold everything that I own as far as stocks and everything else, I could probably buy up half the company right now. But definitely not doing that. In our view, the company's current position reflects failures in governance and leadership. The current board and CEO have not delivered the strategy, execution, or accountability shareholders deserve, which I agree wholeheartedly there. We believe meaningful change in leadership is necessary for shareholders to realize the value we see in Mawson's asset and platform. Shareholders should evaluate whether the current leadership team is fit for purpose at this inflection point and whether the company needs different experience, urgency, and accountability at the top. Yeah, the hard part is trying to get somebody that's going to be awesome in that position with the company being valued at $5 million, right? You almost need a like a venture fund, or what's the other one that's called, where the companies go in, like a venture fund, I think. They go in, they basically clean house, and then they restructure the company into something different. You almost need something like that to happen with it being valued at $5 million there. All right, against the backdrop, we are writing to you today for 3 reasons. One, Mawson's current trajectory is not sustainable or acceptable for shareholders, which I agree there. If you are a shareholder, we have actually a poll running right now, and looks like 79% of you are not in it. Looks like 21% of you are in it. I'm guessing a lot of you guys got into it at a much higher price at this point, I would imagine, unless you got in recently. But yeah, that's tough. The board has not meaningfully engaged with us despite repeated outreach. We believe shareholders deserve a credible plan and immediate action. I agree there as well. Like I said, Mawson was one of those companies I was definitely looking heavily into possibly investing during 2021, 2022, and then obviously the downtrend in 2022 definitely showed signs of stress and where the company had obviously failed at certain points. So that was the reason why I didn't get into it. Luckily, I mean. Let's see here, 95% decline in share price, which is true. Mawson's market capitalization has fallen from approximately $450 million at the end of 2021 to roughly $15 million. It's actually $5 million because I checked it today, as early as January 2026. Over-reliance on dilutive equity issuance and asset sales. So as disclosed in the company's SEC filings, Mawson recently sold approximately 1.6 million shares through its at-the-market program for $9.6 million in gross proceeds. Yeah, I mean, you're going to see that if the company's not making much enough to cover their expenses, you're going to have that ATM thing being pulled hard. Despite Mawson's all-time low market capitalization, management continues to sell shares today. Well, if that's the thing. If they can't generate enough revenue to cover their costs and pay overhead for employees, everything else, well, I mean, what do you expect is going to happen? They're going to use the ATM. I mean, that's not the only reason people go to the open markets and be publicly listed, but that's part of it, is especially if you're growing, but they're not really even growing at this point. So yeah, it's a tough spot to be in. Lack of coherent leadership, CEO turnover. Mawson is operating with a temporary CEO and has had to dismiss its past 2 CEOs for cause. That's not good. The current management team is largely comprised of attorneys and is focused more on litigation than on operations. Well, yeah, if you got attorneys, they don't know what the heck they're doing there with operations. I mean, you need somebody that has some experience in data centers, things like that, right? Lawyers are not going to be the way to go. Number 4, strained balance sheet. And then as of September 30th, so as of Q3 end, Mawson sold $9 million of negative equity on its balance sheet, or had $9 million of negative equity on its balance sheet, and more than 24 million borrowings due within 1 year, right? Not in a very healthy position as far as balance sheet is concerned. Here's what Endeavor proposes Mawson should do. A focused strategy around Mawson's highest value sites and customers towards AI and high density compute. So as far as what do they actually have there, I think they have like about 150, 160 megawatts of sites. They got, let me see, I think it's down here in their deck. This is as of December of last year. Yeah, so they got Perry County in, looks like Ohio there, right? That's 24 megawatts. And they got Bellefontaine, which is 9 megawatts, and Midland. I should probably zoom this in for you guys so you guys can see it probably a little bit better. Midland is 120 megawatts. So roughly between all of those, it's somewhere around 150, 160 megawatts as far as sites are concerned. Okay, going down here. To leverage the company's attractive power and site footprint and strategically advantaged regions beyond Bitcoin mining. And that's true. The only thing that I kind of saw here, and it's just a nitpick, I guess you could say, right? The sites that they do have here, the one that's pictured here, I think this is the Pennsylvania site. This is their biggest one that they have there. You can see that they're using these containers for Bitcoin mining. I'm not sure if they also own this portion of the property there with the buildings there. The buildings you could possibly retrofit to house AI data centers. They're not the best looking there, but you could possibly do it. Or you would just basically start from scratch, demolish this, and put up a 124, 120 megawatt data center potentially there. So there's potential there. Is just how do you utilize it? Also, the big thing would be obviously access to water, access to fiber. Do they have access there? Redundant fiber and all that stuff. We would need to know more things about this company in much more detail here. As an example of untapped value in 2022, Mawson agreed to sell its Sandersville, Georgia Bitcoin mining facility and 6,468 ASIC miners to a large publicly traded Bitcoin miner for up to $42.5 million in total consideration. Guess who that company was? It was Cleanspark, right? They bought that facility from them. Cleanspark was buying these smaller sites, retrofitting them, increasing the megawatts there as they could. And we saw actually Cleanspark doing very well because they were continuing to grow, getting newer machines, doing the right things, whereas Mawson was struggling and having to sell their sites. So that definitely happened there. The sale price is nearly 3x the entire market cap. Today it's actually more than that because, they sold it for $42 million. The cap is at $5 million right now. You're looking at 8x at that point, demonstrating both the destruction in value and the company's ability to harvest the value of its own assets. Yeah, they screwed up big. A meaningful equity recapitalization that reduces short-term liabilities and ends the cycle of crisis financing. Yeah, they need an injection of capital to last them at least a year to turn things around, possibly. But you got to get rid of the board there. You got to get rid of the management team as well. You got to start fresh, basically. Endeavor will be an active partner to Mawson and provide new equity capital to fund near-term obligations and support future growth. And then 3, improved governance that reflects the relevant experience in AI, HPC, digital assets, and energy, and that holds management to clear performance standards and alignment between management's incentives and shareholders' value. Yeah. With Endeavor owning close to 40-45% of the company there, my recommendation is buy up the rest of it and then take it over, right? If you own 51%, you got the controlling votes there. Get rid of everybody from the top down, start fresh, and see what you can do with the company there. But having a board that's possibly, entrenched, along with the CEO there, temporary CEO that's in there, it might be tough to get those people to change their ways, especially if they're able to pull on an ATM and feed their own piggy banks. So the only way I can possibly see this working out is if Endeavor actually buys a majority share of shares there and just cleans house at that point. But yeah, this is one of those companies that we talked about going back there. I'm happily grateful that I didn't get invested in it, and hopefully I warned enough people not to get into it as well at that time when we were seeing this stuff play out here. But I wish, obviously, people that are still in with Mawson, for them to have a much better, obviously, board management team, somebody that has competence or is competent in their operations. And the big thing is the payout there or compensation, salaries. Keep that low. Keep it so where they are more incentivized to grow the shareholder value, and in return they would get more stock value and things like that, right? Align it with the shareholders' value. If the shareholders get money on it, do it that way. Other than that, you definitely don't want to bring in somebody that's going to be making $1 to $2 million a year or something like that, without having the positive incentives that they need to turn the company around. But that's just my take on it. So, yeah, it's one of those sad tales in this space, unfortunately. This isn't the only one. We've seen this with Mawson. We saw it with Argo. We saw it also with, obviously, CORZ Scientific got into trouble as well during this cycle. We've seen CORZ was actually able to get out of bankruptcy, but we've seen others, the way they played out. So you got to watch the teams there. You got to see how they're performing, how they're growing, how they're building out, and everything else. It's all important to kind of keep an eye on things, and what kind of debts are they using. All of that is important. But yeah, I wish Endeavor and the shareholders there all the best with Moss, and hopefully they can do some good here for the company and for the shareholders as well. All right, that is it. That's all I got for you guys here right now. We took a look at it. Let's take a look at Mawson here. What else we got here? I don't think there's anything else telling. You can see the interim CEO and general counsel. So yeah, mostly lawyers here, it looks like. On it, the two sites that they have here. This is their Midland, Pennsylvania flagship site, 120 megawatts. So fully operational with proximity to major urban hubs. Okay, that's great. But again, can they change things around? It's your 9 megawatt site, Bellefontaine in Pennsylvania as well. That's definitely a much smaller site. And then the Perry County, Ohio, 24 megawatt greenfield site is energized. Yeah, they got to do much better. How will they do that? Not sure, but they got to do much better. All right, let's get into Q&A here. We'll call it a day. Not much else is happening with these guys here, but this is all that I could find actually for you guys. Well, all the details that I could find on anything that's positive happening in the space right now. So let's get into Q&A, and we'll call it a day. As always, there's not that many of you guys in here, so we'll go quickly here. Benny asks, is Iren reporting results earlier bullish? The only reason they're reporting earlier is because they don't have to do the audited results, right? So it's the standard quarterly results for them. It's not the end of the year for them. That's why they're coming out kind of earlier, I think. Now, if they come out with some kind of good news in there, as well as a possible another tenant for some of their sites or something like that, that would be great news, and that would be awesome to see as well. Let's see, PJW says, don't forget the Orange Swan event. What was that? I'm drawing a blank on that one. Dan asks, any news for Iren expected soon? I mean, we're all hoping that they provide us with another update on either their own GPU build out, another customer for their data centers or their megawatts. That'd be great news there. Miners 2025 asks, Bitfarms is a sleeping giant. I wouldn't say they're undervalued in my opinion. Yes. Are they a giant? Not yet. I would not put them in the same category, at least currently, with like Cypher, Iren, and others in that boat. They have potential in the Washington site that they're building out right now, and the sites that they have in Pennsylvania as well. So yes, they do have potential here, but I wouldn't call them a sleeping giant, at least not yet. Okay. Sadie, thank you so much as always for the likes there. Roger, how's everyone enjoying the bull market so far? Face blue, smiling. I'm still happy with it overall, right? We just gotta be patient. It's not like we're going up 1,000% in 5 days. It's gonna take time. We need to be patient there. Okay, Michael asks, why did you speak about Mawson? I thought it was interesting, right? It's one of those companies that we talked about. Somebody actually reached out to me and shared a link with me on that. I'm like, okay, let me take a look at that. That's actually kind of interesting because I did cover Mawson quite a bit back in 2021 and 2022. It's one of those companies that we still kind of keep an eye on, see what's going on with them. But that's kind of the reason why. I'm hoping that, I mean, I'm seeing like 20% of you guys are invested in it right now, at least by the poll. So there's still some people that are invested in it, and I want those people to maybe at least get some of their money back, if not all their money back that they invested in that one. That's kind of why I covered it. I thought it was, if somebody can take action in there and clean house and do the proper things by shareholders, I think that'd be great for everybody. So that's kind of why I covered it. Let's see. Roger, do you know why stock market is pumping, gold and silver is pumping, but Bitcoin isn't? Yeah, it's been a little bit odd this time around, right? The last 10 years or so, maybe a little bit longer, Bitcoin hasn't done much, but Bitcoin has been on like a rocket ship. I think right now with gold and silver, I think it's just the geopolitical turmoil right now, right? You got our President Trump making some aggressive moves, which some countries don't like. So they're going into safe assets as they view them as gold and silver. I think that's part of it. There might be other things that factoring in as well. We're seeing yields go up. I wonder if that's having a part of it also, a small part of that. But I think it's just the geopolitical tension between countries and things like that. So that might be part of it as well, because we've been seeing that gold do pretty well here ever since Trump took office here, or even more so, including silver here recently. So I'm thinking that might be it. But correct me if you guys think of something else that's happening there that I might be missing here. Okay, what else here? We got one more thing coming up here. Roger, but it doesn't really make sense, because if stocks are risk on, then BTC should pump with it, or if it's risk off, then BTC should pump with gold, silver. Yeah, it is kind of strange, right? I don't know what to make of it. I think that's the only reason why there. We've also had higher interest rates here recently in the last couple of years. I think that might play into why Bitcoin hasn't done that well. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think eventually things will flip back to what we've seen in the past. Will we see those 100% gains in a year on Bitcoin? I doubt that. I think we'll be you know, maybe 30 to 50% gains in a year, something like that, I think, but it's going to just continue going longer. That's at least my theory right now. All right. Michael asks, why do you think about Mawson and how much cash and debt does it have? And did you buy, and is it data center, or which type of coins do have it? Let me just reread that again. Why do you think about Mawson, or what do I think about Mawson? How much cash and debt does it have? And did you buy, and is it a data center, or which type of coins does it have? It's just Bitcoin mining. I believe last time I knew it was Bitcoin mining, but it's also co-location. So it has customers that are co-located with them for Bitcoin mining. As far as did I buy any? No. I was looking to buy it back in 2021 and partially into 2022, right? That's kind of when I started getting into these guys here. I saw pretty good growth from them, but I've not bought it because of what I saw what happened later on in 2022. So yeah, I don't own any shares right now currently. I never owned any shares of Mawson. But yeah, as far as data center types, it's not really data center play. I mean, you saw the picture there of it outside on their presentation deck. Let's see, let's scroll this up over here. You can probably see it here as well. Right, this is the biggest site that they have in Pennsylvania. This is Midland. I mean, that doesn't look like a data center, right? That looks like containers, easily, quickly, you know, put on site, connected to power, and that's kind of how they're generating their revenues there on it. Do they have acreage there? They probably might have acreage there, right? They're part of the PGM interconnection as well. Yeah, site type is outdoor modular MDC concept with indoor storage and maintenance networking huts. So, yeah, could they turn this into a data center? Yeah, it would definitely take some work there. I'm not sure how many megawatts, how many acres they have available to them, but you could build something that, you know, could utilize that potential. But you obviously have to go out and sell that to customers potentially. Okay, let's see, talk about that one. Roger asks, what do you think is the reason for Cleanspark's strength today? It looks like it wants to run hard. I mean, I've seen some people talking about it on X that it has gotten out of the range of the last couple year range of downwards. So it broke out of that range, and then there's some other things like that. I mean, that's the only reason I think so. Yeah, I mean, we've seen, yeah, it was kind of strange that it was up today. Maybe there's something happening behind the scenes that we don't know, right? Maybe somebody's just front running a little bit. Could be any one of those things. Orange Ponds asks, what price do you think Cleanspark can hit by July? By July, so we're looking at 5 months in roughly. Oh gosh, right? Do they get a deal? If they get a deal, we could see them much higher. If they don't get a deal and their peers get a deal or something like that, that could also lift them up. Bitcoin goes up higher, it could go up. But I think they should be somewhere between $20 and $30 currently as it is. So that's kind of where I would expect them to go. If we get deals from others, or if they get a deal of themselves, we could definitely see them going up much higher. At that point, that's kind of where I'd be looking at right now. All right, I think, let's see, is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. All right, everyone, I think we're going to call it a night. I'm going to go spend some time with my wife, watch a show or something like that, and we'll get back to things tomorrow. See what happens tomorrow as well. Obviously, tomorrow is going to be a very, very frigid day, quite a large portion of the country, along with Canada there as well, our friends to the north. So be careful out there if you do have to work outside, or if you have to go outside at all. Be careful. Keep an eye on your loved ones as always, especially the elderly. Make sure that they have heat, and your pets. Keep your pets inside tomorrow. I know my pup is going to be in and out quickly. She's not going to want to go outside. She never wants to go outside when it's that cold. So take care of everybody. Love you all. Thank you so much for coming in, and I will see you all tomorrow. Until then,